Great. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Dane Sanders. Dane is from a ministry called Alpha. How many people here are familiar with Alpha? Okay, that's good. Alpha is an incredible ministry of introducing people to Jesus in a really non-threatening way, and it's worldwide. I've looked into it. I can tell you, I highly recommend it. So let me turn this over to Dane. Dane, here you go.
Thank you so much. Hey, would you guys do me a quick favor? Could you turn to page 41 real quick and just rip? I want to hear the sound of ripping. Rippity rip, 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 rip. I don't hear it. Louder, louder. There, look, the magical sound that every speaker at Barnabas wants to hear is the rip. Thank you. The reason I wanted you to is because I'm going to take part of a minute, and I have very precious few minutes here, although I'm super grateful for the opportunity, to just pull back for a second and get some perspective. This is the moment this is a special Barnabas. I've been here several times, and today in particular, I was so moved. I was just over there sitting and praying and thinking through what we've just heard about. From Brian at NCF, inviting you guys to really put yourself in a position to really maximize your kingdom impact. To Brad at Street Exit Homeless, with Sitting Net, to Colonel Retired Farrell with Olive Branch, to Nick Jordan with really Water for the Thirsty and the Dying, that board that's been plaguing me the entire time we've been here, for Wells of Life, for Brad Holtberg and his invitation to align our identity with reality, with the way God made us at Fuller, to Luke Womack. My gosh, I wish I was 20-something again. That kid, he's the real deal, people. I've gotten to know him outside of this deal. Spend your time. It's incredible what they're doing. And in a minute, I'm going to get off here. You're going to forget all about me and hear about Brendan over at Fighting for the Unborn. And what I'm telling you guys right now is if you don't step back and get some perspective, you guys are in a feast right now, a feast of kingdom impact. I work for Alpha. I'm the ambassador for Alpha, but I'm a kingdom guy first. And this is the space where you can sell the field, buy the pearl, get after this thing. And I hope you take advantage of it with these incredible ministries. So Psalm 105 basically makes the case that you should stop and celebrate the good things that God is doing, and that is what I wanted to do just for a second. I'm also here because about 2 years ago, a colleague of mine, a woman named Trisha Neal, got up on the stage. She's straight out of casting. She looks like she should be in Harry Potter. She has this amazing accent, and she had a chance to share with you a little bit what's going on around Alpha around the world. I'm here to give you a very quick update on what that is. One of the pieces that I wanted to share is that the Barna Group, many of you guys are familiar with Barna, they do all the fantastic research. Dave Kinnaman's a dear friend. And they discovered worldwide, and this number scares the crap out of me, but 82% of the people who take an Alpha course, see it all the way through, who came in saying out loud that they would not call themselves a Christian or go to church, 82% on the end of the course say they are followers of Jesus. 82%. That's extraordinary to me. And I'm like, how is God doing that with this little tool, this simple, elegant little tool? And rather than me go through all the details of all that I would report to you, because I'm a little biased, I work for the place, I wanted you to hear a little bit from some folks that I think you may know of who could speak better than me.
What if there was a sort of plug-and-play program that, 20 million people have already been through and have been influenced by worldwide, every country, every culture. And what if I told you that it's the most predictably redemptive tool I've ever seen in 40 years of ministry?
Just got a phone call from Bill Hybels, and the very first thing he said, before we ever talked business or anything else, he just said this: "Hey Dave, are you guys using Alpha?" And he says, "I'm telling you, this is the greatest thing."
Alpha has impacted our church culture by bringing evangelism back to the forefront in what we do.
What I didn't anticipate was this relationship that began to take place. People sitting at tables, kind of initially like this, thinking, what in the heck, I'm not gonna talk to you about my life, what a waste of time. All of a sudden start to talk like this, then they're talking like this, and then they're praying with each other. And that happened in just a matter of weeks. And all of a sudden, a big church became small.
I think the secret behind Alpha is the safe community that it creates. I mean, relationships are always relevant. That you're not going to be judged. This is a place where you can put it all on the table.
It has completely altered the spiritual DNA of our church. If how many friends your church members have is the #1 predictor of spiritual growth and church satisfaction, and you have a program like Alpha that gets them to have dinner together over the course of 2 to 3 months. This is the perfect marriage to create spiritual growth.
One of the crises that we have just culturally is people don't have friends anymore. We're more connected than we've ever been, but we don't have friends. So Alpha's made friends with each other and with God. It's a home run.
I love the humility of Alpha. I love that everything you see and hear and feel that comes from Alpha is about the church advancing. It's about the church being the ultimate winner in this conversation.
I mean, in many regards, when you look at what Alpha's doing globally, you can make a case that it's perhaps the greatest evangelistic tool in the history of Christianity.
Would you just strike that match one time? Please, just try it one time. And then God will guide from there.
Strike the match one time, Bill says. Why in the world would Bill Hybels say such an audacious thing? Is it just hyperbole, or is there something to what he's suggesting? And I want to suggest to you, thank you so much, I want to suggest to you that he said it for a reason. In brief, and by the way, I'd actually rather show you. On Tuesday, October 12th, I'm going to take a small group of folks here in Orange County to experience Alpha in person at one of the premier Alphas in America, which happens to be up the street in Costa Mesa. We're going to go to Rock Harbor, see it in person, taste it, feel with the whole thing, go grab a quick bite after and debrief it. If that's you, I'd love for you guys to come. But Alpha provides a real path to a forgotten, unreached people group, which is our neighbor. That's why it works. It was born out of a post-Christian culture in Europe, and in that context, they needed to figure out how do they create safe spaces where people are afraid to go to church. And that's what they did, was they just created this Alpha course. And in essence, what it is a 10-week dinner party. And at this 10-week dinner party, they practice radical hospitality, radical listening, radical dependence that God's going to show up, because if he doesn't, it won't work. And radical empowerment of the guests so that they feel like this is for them, that people care more about them than they do about proselytizing them, that they care more about them feeling like they belong before we ask them to believe or behave in a new way. And once that happens, God is so competent, you guys. It's amazing. He actually does the work. We just needed to create the space for it. If you're unfamiliar with Alpha, it's basically a quick meal, a really good meal, a brief talk, this incredibly produced video or live teaching that's provided completely free to the church and to the guest, and unusual conversations where Christians are asked to not talk at people anymore, but just create space for God to talk with. And it's powerful. Alpha works everywhere, truly. Campuses, multiple languages, the workplace. We saw 127% growth in the Catholic Church alone last year. With youth, we have a brand new youth series, and of course in prisons. It works everywhere. Very quickly, the numbers. Our aim is to reach 100 million people with Alpha. Currently, we've had tens of millions of people. That's what people say when they have just over 10 million people. Tens of millions. No, it's 24 million people roughly who've taken the Alpha course worldwide in the last 25 years. We currently have about 315,000 people who take the course in the United States. That sounds like a big number. It's a fraction of what we want to hit. We want to hit 500,000 people every year by 2020. And it's funny, if you walk down the street of London, I'm going to be there tomorrow, and you ask what is Alpha, 1 in 4 will know exactly what Alpha is. When they talk about Alpha in the papers, they don't even explain it anymore. Everyone knows what Alpha is. Here in the US, we don't have that kind of market saturation, and we need boots in the ground. We're in a high growth moment. The reason all those pastors said all those nice things is because we're seeing huge strategy moves where strategic churches, strategic leaders, and strategic cities are moving, but the only thing that's holding us back are boots in the ground. We need your help. But forget the 100 million number. The only number I want you to think about as we're finishing is the number 1. And that number 1 is that one person that you've been praying for years. Your neighbor, your in-law, even your mother-in-law. Maybe you've been praying for her too. Maybe that was just me. So whoever it is, that person that feels like you need a Hail Mary pass at Easter to have any chance of them knowing Jesus, I'm telling you, evangelism can be as easy as inviting somebody to dinner. And it can happen right now, anywhere in the world. It's offered 3 times a year in churches everywhere. And I encourage you, please join me. My calls to action are 1, please let's get coffee. I'd love to tell you more. And 2, Tuesday, October 10th, Experience Alpha together. If you just say Experience Alpha or EA, or just say anything on your sheet, I'll follow up with you and we'll go from there. And then finally, again, please don't forget these incredible ministries we had a chance to hear from today. I'm so blessed to be a part of this. Thank you. Thank you.
Boy, take a second and fill out that feedback form on Alpha. And, you know, if you just introduce them to your church and get that rolling through your church, how might that impact lives? Okay, think about that. If you've never led an Alpha course, I'd encourage you to lead one. It's a lot of fun. See if you can keep quiet when someone tells you that Jesus landed from Mars. Let's pray for Dane and Alpha. Father, we just thank you for the vision that started Alpha years and years and years ago, and the lives that it's touched and the lives that it's changed. And Lord, we would just pray that if we might be able to introduce that course into our church, and that, you know, who knows, we might start an Alpha group, and we might even be the ones that lead it, or we may know someone else. But Lord, whose life might you change through just that simple introduction today? So we just lift that up to you, Lord. We just thank you. We just pray this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ.